Yvette Basica here, July 3rd, 2025. I'm making this video just to talk about the last couple months. I don't think I posted too much about what happened the last time I was hospitalized. So I just wanted to backtrack and put it down because I can't remember everything that I said. So last year, at the end of the year, I went to Providence St. John's Hospital, in Santa Monica, California, and I saw Dr. Kasari, and he was a neurologist, and 2 days later, I get a letter in the mail from Adult Protective Services saying that it was certified. Well, I had to go down to the post office to get it, and I had to sign for it, and they wanted me to sign for it so that they knew that they were writing me so that they don't get in trouble once I become more disabled. So they were just covering their bases, and they wanted me to certify it so that it was in a court of law. They could say, oh, I tried to reach out to Yvette and we sent her this letter and we certified it. But they didn't. They didn't call back, and they didn't come to my house. So I called the lady, I forgot her name right now, and she said she was out of the country. And then I would call the San Pedro, which is where I live, Adult Protective Services phone number, and they didn't help me. And then I would call the hotline again, and I called 100 times because they took their address down in Los Angeles. You can't no longer go in person, and they used to have it where you can go in person, and then they just said they don't have it. So they were covering their bases so that they don't get in trouble again, because they had it up for a good, I don't know, I want to say 8 years when I first started to call them. So then I called and called and called because I knew that they were going to do something to my medicine, the pharmacy that I go to. And I knew that they were going to affect my vision. Because they've been trying to jab at me for a while now. My stalkers. So I started to notice differences in my vision taking my medicine. And then I tried to explain that to Adult Protective Services, and they basically said, I can't help you. I said my medicine's being tampered with, and they said, I can't do anything about it. We're closing your case. So then I realized that my parents were switching out and putting drugs in my kombucha tea because it would taste funny when I would drink it if I would leave it open in the fridge. And I'm not sure, but I got it from Vons and Trader Joe's, and there's this high chance that they would have put something in it before I got there because I was drinking it daily. So there's a high chance that they were targeting me on my drinks. So then I freaked out, and I was like, oh no, they're gonna get to my drinks, and it's gonna affect my vision, and then on top of that, my medicine that I'm taking, I'm not gonna be able to do anything about it. I had an eye doctor appointment, and I canceled it before I knew what was happening. So then shit hits the fan, and I got scared, and I realized what was happening. And then the torture increased in my house with my parents. So then the torture increased when I would leave my house with the amount of stalkers, and then the social media on Instagram and Facebook started to increase. And then I tried to see a therapist, and then he started to rub his eyes and then poison the door handle before when I would go in to see him, and it would burn my hands and I would get red marks everywhere. And so they started to increase their torture on me again. And I froze up and I sat in my room for a good 2 weeks maybe. And the medicine that I take makes my nervous system unbalanced. So I usually get I get fidgety and I start to shake and I start to rock. I get I don't know how to say it, akathisia. And so I'm sitting there just shaking for like 2 weeks, and I ate a little bit, and then my mom said, because I live with my parents, they said that if I don't eat more food, they're calling the cops on me. So I tried to eat more food. It wasn't good enough, and I stayed in my room. I didn't use deadbolts, but I just stayed in my room because I didn't want to be around my parents, because I didn't know they were increasing their torture in the house. They were using explosives again on me through the ceiling, and so I just stayed in my room. And then the cops came, and I was like, oh no, the cops came again. I should have just did something about it a lot sooner. And then they what happened was I was gonna find another doctor to help me, and then the day that I was gonna find a doctor to help me, my parents called the cops. And I think my brother did while my parents were here. And so I went away again. And it's illegal to keep doing this to me when I'm just staying in my room, but it keeps happening. So I went to Harvard UCLA, and the cops stayed with me in the ER for like a good 10 hours. And I was like, well, there's no reason for me to be here for 10 hours. I'm not doing an IV. I'm not malnourished. Why am I just sitting here? So I got a little suspicious, and I'm like, are they planning a drug on me? Are they like formulating the new drugs to inject me with before I get in? Like, why are they keeping me here? And so I went in the psych ER, and the guy asked me what happened, and they remember me. And I told them my whole story. And I don't know what happened. I don't know what happened in between going in and then coming out 10 days later. They gave me uh 2 different shots, which are supposed to only give me one, but they gave me a shot, and then I told them I didn't want to do shots, that I would take the pills, and they forced it on me, and they said basically I couldn't leave unless I got on it. And the whole time that I was in there, I was completely tortured. They were throwing things at me. They were putting drugs in my food. I couldn't breathe. I was in like constant shaking, constant physical pain. They played mind games with me. They put stuff in the sink. They put it on the paper towels. They screwed with the soap. They messed with the toilet. They messed with the shower. They messed with the shampoos, all of that stuff. They put stuff on my sheets, on my clothing. So then they locked me in a room without water or a bathroom or a sink for a while. So a couple days here and there, and then they take me out, then they lock me in a couple days. They denied me from using the phone a lot. I couldn't call my mom. They told me I had to pee in a urinal for no reason. I was just laying there doing nothing. And then the injections they gave me they were making these comments like, finally, once and for all, we're going to get you. So I don't know what they gave me. They were definitely experimental drugs. And then I got out 10 days later, and I was like, okay, just usually what happens when I get out of the hospitals, I need some time to heal because I'm badly beaten up. So I sat there for like maybe a good month, and I realized that they gave me drugs to make me go blind, because that's what they were planning on from the Dr. Kasari appointment. And they probably didn't want me coming back anymore because I went there so many times because of my parents. And my mom's extremely forceful and screaming at me all day long, every day, very evil. So that's why I usually hide in my room. And what happened was I got scared. I freaked out crying one day on the drugs because it makes you very emotional. So I freaked out crying, and I told my parents, I'm like, something's going to happen to me. I'm going to be disabled. And they're like, nothing's going to happen to you. And I said, you guys are lying to me. And so then I was like, well, I gotta get the work. I gotta do something. So I tried to make this company for blind people. And what happened was I said it in my head a few times. And then I didn't tell anybody, but I went on to LegalZoom and I created a company, and they tried to block me. So they wouldn't help me. They said I had to do it. I did it over the phone. They said they blocked me on the website from doing it directly on the website. I couldn't use the phone or the computer. And they were giving me the runaround for a good couple days. Then they made some comment that I had to file with some fraud secretary to make the company of California. So I forgot the name of the fraud secretary, but they made me do extra paperwork. And I know that I didn't have to because I have nonprofits and I never had to do this before. And so they tried to lie to me and they tried to finagle me. And I was freaking out because I was trying to detox from my meds. And so when you start to detox, especially right away, it's really chaotic. Like, you get a lot of physical pain, you get emotional pain, you get head problems, body aches, vomiting, diarrhea, the shakes. It's very bad. So I was trying to detox, and then I was like, okay, they started to get a hold of my friends on my phone, and they started to tell them to, they basically tried to like emotionally attack me. So they try to use family members against me, and then they try to use friends against me, and they try to get me to basically be so vulnerable that all I could do was just lay there and not do anything. Because they came at me from people that I knew, from strangers. They tried to trigger me, and I didn't know what was happening. So then I tried to connect the website that I made finally with the company. And online GoDaddy is usually a very safe and responsible website, and the company's always been great, and they wouldn't help me. They kept giving me the runaround. They said, I can't help you. You got to call your website developer and you got to figure it out with them. And they wouldn't tell me the steps to connect my website. And then they switched the whole entire website once I log into my account. It's completely brand new. And then I go to my host website and they said it takes 60 days to connect your website. And I was like, oh my God, why 60 days? Like, that doesn't make any sense. You're supposed to connect your website right away. It takes about 5 seconds to connect a website. So they kept giving me the runaround. Then I called my web developer and he wouldn't help me. He kept saying, I can't call you, just text me or email me. And then I would ask him questions and he wouldn't give me direct answers and I couldn't figure it out. And then I would call GoDaddy and it was just like the runaround. And I don't have a lot of money to spend on web development because I'm disabled and I haven't been able to work. And so then I so then after that happened, they got into my phone. So I got a suspicious email that I clicked on, but I thought that if you don't click on the link on when you open the email that you should be safe. But I didn't know that if you click the outside of the email, you can still get hacked. Apparently it's the case. So I click on this email that I thought was from a trusted therapist. Was not. So they got into my email and they started deleting things. So they started to delete information that I've documented from previously. And they started to delete notes and they started to just kind of attack my system. Then I tried to figure out how to go around the hacker from getting into my system, and I clicked on a button on my phone, and I don't remember what the button was, but it, like whoever hacked into my phone, which was, maybe somebody from Apple or from another hacking source, got into the hardware of my phone, and then I clicked on this, button in settings and it completely froze my phone and then it hacked into the rest of my data. So they got into my apps. So I was like, great. Okay, so now they've gotten into my personal data. And then after that, my mom starts screaming at me every day and threatening to call the cops on me again. And it was ongoing. So it was only a couple months later that this was going on for. So as soon as I got hacked, my mom was like, perfect. She's vulnerable. Let's get her in now. So whoever's talking to my parents told my parents to start screaming at me at that point so that I would have a breakdown. So they start, my mom starts threatening and screaming at me again. And then I try to go and get help and I try to leave my house, and my dad put stipulations on me, and he said, I only can go to 2 places at a time. I only get an hour a day and I can't go past local places. So I couldn't go to the businesses that I needed to go to. And then when I would leave the house, the ambulance was always there. The ambulance or the fire department. And I was like, oh God, like, what are they fucking planning now? Am I going to get taken away? And so I try to do local businesses. Meanwhile, when I would come home, I didn't eat that much because I didn't want to get sick. I didn't know what my parents were planning because they were coming at me really hard. So my mom gave me ultimatums like a couple days before I went to the hospital. She was like, Yvette, you got to get out of your room and eat. You got to get out of your room and eat. And I said, I don't want to get sick. I don't want you attacking me when I get out of my room. And I froze because I was detoxing, and my system was all whacked out physically. So I was frozen. And so but I still had the shakes. So I was gonna get out of my room and I was gonna go to the store, and then I was gonna go the day after she said something, and then it was too late. It was too late. I missed my mark, and I waited too long, and I can't believe that I can't just have peace in my household where I'm not threatened and the cops can't come because I decide to stay in my room. I don't think that's a reason to go to a psych ward. So I have like no personal freedom. I have no way of doing anything that I want to do. I'm controlled. My every move is controlled still. So if I frown or if I cry, or if I'm getting the side effects from the medicine, my mom will threaten to call the cops on me. So anytime that I start to cry, she says she's going to call them on me. It's a very frightening living situation. So I can't help the side effects of the medicine. It's forced on me against my will, and this stuff is really happening to me. So then the cops come, and they had something. The fire department was there in my house, and they were like, Yvette, we need to take your blood pressure. And I said, I don't want to do it. A couple of reasons I don't like to take it. One, they use the ammo of the blood pressure to find out what type of, what experimental drug they're going to give on me. So they usually like to find out my blood pressure to find out what type of experimental drug and how much my heart rate is at the minute. And I don't want them getting any more ammo on me. So then they put a substance on the finger thing to measure your heart rate, and then the cuff. So it had a goo on it, and it was burning my skin, and I didn't want to touch it because I didn't know what that stuff was. They wouldn't let me go upstairs and wash my hands. The cops came, and then I went in the fire truck, and I was like, I don't want to go into the fire truck because the last time I went in it, something came down from the ceiling when I go through the truck, and it got all over my head. So I don't know what they're planning. And then they usually tamper with the sheets and the stuff that they use to cuff you when you go into the truck. And so I didn't want any more stuff on my skin. And so I said I don't want to do this, and they put me in anyway. So then I go to San Pedro Hospital, and I went to the ER, and they wouldn't let me use the bathroom. And they said, Yvette, if you use the bathroom, you're going to run out. And I said, I'm not running because I'm not an idiot. Just let me use the bathroom. And they're like, nope, not going to let you. You got to pee in the bed panel. So I'm like, great. So I'm stuck. And I'm like, why this time at all times that I've been to these hospitals that they wouldn't let me use the bathroom this time. They must be doing something nasty. So then they gave me food and water with drugs in it, open water container, forced me to drink it. I didn't want to drink it. I got sick. I said, I don't want to touch your stuff. And they said, you have to. So I did. And then I go across the street to, they have 2 departments. They have an inpatient unit upstairs in the San Pedro Hospital. And then they have another inpatient unit across the street that's an ER specific. So they sent me to the ER across the street, and I'm like, I don't want to go there. That place is nuts. And they're like, you have to. And meanwhile, I'm talking to my mom, who, when the cops came to the house, she ran out of the room and she left the place, the house. She didn't want to stay here anymore. She hid from me, and she wanted me to be arrested. And I go, you better come to the ER, because this is the last time I'm going to be able to see you. And she comes to the ER, and I'm like, why didn't you just talk to me like a normal human being? Why did you send the cops again when I wasn't doing anything wrong and I was getting attacked every day? And she didn't give me an answer. And she said, you needed to eat. And I said, not if I'm going to be vomiting and diarrhea, I can't. And so that's what happened. And then the San Pedro across the street said I was going to go to the inpatient unit in the hospital. They lied. They changed their mind. So I get there the next day. They're like, we're taking you to St. Joseph in Orange County. And I'm like, no fucking way am I going to Orange County. That place is nuts. And the drugs in Orange County is a lot heavier than the drugs in Los Angeles. So I was like, I don't want to go there. And they're like, well, you have no choice. And I'm like, great. So I go to San Pedro. I go to St. Joseph, and it was disaster from the beginning. They had me in one room. The sink had black stuff in it. When I got there, it burned my skin. And then as soon as I made a sudden movement, they were like, we're moving you to the other wing, which is like more dangerous unit. So then I went to the other unit, and I talked to the psychiatrist, and the psychiatrist said, we'll get you out in 5 days. And I'm like, great, they'll get me out in 5 days. And I'm like, I'm not doing injections. And he's like, that's fine. So I was like, okay, hopefully I don't die while I'm here, and I'm going to make it out. So 5 days go by, I don't leave. And the whole time I was there, which was about a month, so he lied, I was completely tortured. People were throwing things at my face. They put the same stuff in the toilet water. I couldn't even use shampoo to wash my hair. It burned the shit out of my skin. It gave me rashes everywhere. I was in physical pain. They put stuff in the toilet. Everything that I had was drugged. All my food was drugged. I was in convulsions constantly. And then when he said I was about to leave halfway in, and he said, if you take this new drug, you'll get out in a couple days. And I'm like, fucking Jesus Christ, I have to take another drug. All I'm doing is laying in my bed, mind you, keeping to myself, not harming anybody, keeping my own business. I know what it's like to be in these wards, so I just keep to myself. And they gave me this new drug. I forgot the name, starts with the C, and I had a really bad allergic reaction. And I said, no fucking way am I taking this drug. I'm not going to die and have my throat close up. And he was like, you have to take it. No, the psychiatrist left for the weekend. So I had a new psychiatrist and for the weekend, and I think that was purposely planned so I would take the fucking drug. Because he was there all the other weekends. And so I called my mom and I said, you are in charge of me. I can't take this drug. And she screamed at me for like good 30 minutes. And I was screaming back at her. And I was like, my throat's going to close in. I'm going to die. I can't take this drug. And they said it was forced on me. They said if I didn't take it, I was getting an injection. And I'm like, this is illegal. So I said, fine, I'll take the drug. So I took it, got really sick, didn't die. Woke up the next day and they came in the room when I was completely calm laying there. And they're like, we're giving you an injection. And I'm like, why? And they said, it's to calm you down. And I said, I'm sleeping. And they go, yeah, but you were screaming at your mom last night. And I said, it's because I didn't want to take the drug. And so they gave me some kind of a manipulation injection. And the doctor told me he wouldn't. And they lie because you can't trust these people. That's why you think that I'm paranoid by sounding all this stuff, but they lie to me. So it's like I have to watch my back. So they gave me the injection, and then I was on the experimental drugs every night and experimental food for about a month. And 2 days before I was going to leave, they switched up my meds. They told me I had to wait a half an hour. They did something sneaky with me, and I'm pretty sure another injection happened that I got sick from because I have no memory of it. And all I know is that afterwards I got really sick. So they might have turned on my microchip and did something to me. I'm not positive, but I got really sick from it. And they were lying. They were basically sitting there lying to me about my pills, about them not being ready on time and then hiding them from me. I took 2 sets of pills and one of them they had, and then I asked for the other one. They go, oh, we have to wait for it. And I go, why do I have to wait for it? It just didn't add up because the pills on the other 30 days that I was there were there at the same time. And then the day that I left, they told me I had to take my pills before I left, and they were not sealed. And I said, I'm not taking these drugs because you're going to inject me on the way out. And they're going to sedate me with the pills. You're going to block my memory with these fucking experimental drugs, and then you're going to inject me. And they're like, we're not going to do that, Yvette. And I'm like, you're liars. So I took the drugs, and then I left, and I have no idea what happened. Hopefully nothing happened, but I don't know. So I left, and I've been home for a good month. And I'm feeling the effects of what happened. The last couple months, and how traumatizing it was. The injections that they gave me and the pills that they gave me were meant to purposely harm me, because every night when I took them, I got brand new side effects. And so I'm not sure what they gave me. I have no idea. I'm not a doctor. I'm not a chemist. I'm just a patient. So I have no idea what they gave me. And I'm scared for my existence because when I go onto Google, they took down medical doctors that I was searching for. They took down lawyers. They switched up all the names on Google and on the websites, so they're not easily available. And I remember searching for a civil rights lawyer, and they took them all down in LA off of Google. And then I tried to go onto the lawyer Google websites, and they were pretty much non-existent. And then when I would call the places, they said they couldn't help me. And then I tried finding like a variety of different lawyers that could help. But here's the thing. The reality is it's been 10 years. It started in 2015, was my first hospital. And it's been 10 years of being blocked. And so at this rate, they have most likely switched out the lawyers online to be only my perps. Because when I call them, they shut down my case. They will not help me. They will not talk to me. They will not do video chats with me, nothing. So, and I remember when I first originally started searching, they had a lot more lawyers in Los Angeles, and they had like a bunch, and then they took them all down. So if anybody has any lawyer that they want to recommend, or any doctor that they want to recommend, you can find me on Instagram and just post on one of my pictures at YVETTEBASICA3. If you can't get a hold of me, you can always call 310-935-8797. Chances are you're probably not going to get a hold of me. So the only other thing I can do is I live in San Pedro, California, so you can try to find somebody to find out where I live. I don't know. I don't want to post my address, but I don't know. I don't know what else to do at this point, because the drugs that they gave me and the drugs that I am forced on even now is permanently disabling me on purpose. And I honestly don't know how much time I have left. And I don't know what's going to happen to me. So I tried to find work for the last 10 years, and I was blocked from every company that I contacted, which was over 20,000 jobs. So then I contacted, so then I created mentalrights.com, and getting donations is really hard. So if anybody wants to donate, let me know. And you could do it right on the website, or you can Zelle the money to that phone number. So if anybody has any advice or any referrals, that's what I'm really needing right now. Because I don't know how much longer I'm going to have before the drugs affect my vision. And I don't know how much time I have before something like that happens. Okay. Thank you so much.